Tonight on News at 9, against Saitam, doctors of the Government Medical Officers Association launches a strike. Thousands affected.
First at 9, this is Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, President reacts, says there's an invisible force behind the strike against Saitam. Dengue on tourism. Will the dengue crisis impact Sri Lanka's profitable tourism sector?
So we need to carry good news to the outside world to tell that Sri Lanka is a safe place to travel to.
Liquor ban. Finance Minister questions to whether government should continue outdated liquor laws. And in international headlines, ISIS strikes. The Grand Mosque of Al-Nuri in Mosul, Iraq, destroyed. Another day, another strike. Many stories to report to you tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mahesh Johnny, and we begin with the latest strike from the GMOA. Government Medical Officers Association says that they will continue the island-wide strike launched this morning in protest of the attack on the university students who forcibly entered the Ministry of Health yesterday. They expressed these views convening a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Police Special Task Force attacked a group of university students who forcibly entered the Ministry of Health and caused extensive damage to public property in protest of Saitam yesterday. 85 persons in total had to seek medical attention, including 6 police officers. To oppose the attack on the medical students, Government Medical Officers Association launched an island-wide strike at 8 this morning. The GMOA strike blanketed the Colombo National Hospital, teaching hospitals of South Colombo, Kandy and Karapitia, as well as the Ragama Hospital.
බුද්ධිමත් කොල්ලෝ ටිකක් මේ දඟලන්නේ ලෙඩුන්ට අසාධාරණයක් කියන එක වෙනම දෙයක්.
දාන්නත් එකයි ඔක්කොම එකයි. අපිට සල්ලි තියනවද කරන්න? අපිට සල්ලි නැහැ කොහෙවත් යන්න. මේකෙන් ඕනේ බේත් ගන්න.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ කොහොම හරි විසඳෙන්න ඕනේ දොස්තරවරු සුමානයක් හරි ස්ට්‍රයික් කරලා. ළමයින්ට පහර දීම අපි හෙලා දකිනවා.
අර විශ්වවිද්‍යාලේ දරුවෝ ඉල ඉගෙනගත්තු දරුවෝ වෙලා ওই විදිහට ආයතන කඩාගෙන යනවා.
ඉස්පිරිතාලේ බාර ගන්න බෑ. මේ උස්ම ගන්න බැරුව අපි කියලා බේ.
However, emergency care units function normally today, and the Government Medical Officers Association assured the treatment of dengue patients, considering it an essential service. Accordingly, patients in Infectious Diseases Hospital in Angada were treated as usual. The Castle Street Hospital for Women, Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children, other children's hospitals and cancer hospitals did not join the strike. In the meantime, convening a media briefing, the GMOA said they will continue the island-wide strike.
We had a general committee. Representatives from all over the country came and decided this trade union action should continue trade union action. Anyway, this issue mainly became as a major issue because of the behavior of the Minister of Health, Dr. Raj Senaratne, because he is trying his level best to safeguard this fraudulent institution, and other one is the brutal attack on students. Nothing rigid. We can change by day.
Police media spokesperson Deputy Inspector General Priyantha Jayakodi said investigations have commenced on yesterday's incident under the DIG of the Colombo Division.
Police reject the allegations. Police did not want to attack those who had forcefully entered the premises. Police wanted to remove those who damaged state property from the premises.
However, convening a media briefing, the Inter-University Students' Federation rejected the allegations against the university students.
Yes, we entered the Ministry of Health. It's neither being mischievous nor the fault of the age. Whenever the rights of the people of this country are in danger, any innocent will turn to mischief. The officers of the Police Special Task Force surrounded us and attacked unharmed students.
Meanwhile, also addressing the media, Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne had this to say.
Damage worth over millions have been caused to the Health Ministry. This is just what the GMOA planned for. Today is the day we get the court verdict. What they wanted was a dead body. The document pertaining to the standards of Saitam was to be presented to me yesterday at 4 p.m. But due to this, it never happened. The GMOA is acting like a political party and not like a trade union. Time has now come for the government to take a clear decision on this as it's affecting people.
Meanwhile, students of medical faculties around the country had organized protests in front of universities. The students of the medical faculty of the University of Colombo had organized a protest at the Lipton roundabout.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that he does not blame university students who were manipulated by uncivilized political forces. He made the remarks addressing a function organized to west a newly built two-story building on the students of Polonnaruwa Lankapura Mahavidyalaya.
I don't blame any university student. These students coming from rural schools are innocent. Most think that we built Saitam. It was built by those of the previous regime. It does not have the qualities a non-state university ought to adhere to. That is why this problem arose. We as a government issued a number of directives that it should provide education of a certain standard, although it is a non-state university. We decided the minimum qualifications for the medical degree. We fulfilled all their requests. Eventually, they said they didn't need any of that and it should be taken over by the government. Behind all this are some political parties. Who finance them? About 75,000 students migrate for studies and there are agencies to send them abroad. When there are non-state universities in this country, those agencies lose their income. So I ask, what is wrong with these students being educated without going abroad through quality non-state universities?
Meanwhile, several politicians also expressed their views on the Saitam issue. We're also students of universities. We too have stood up for rights, but these protests seem to be fueled by political agendas. I am of the view that Saitam should be abolished. I do not approve the action taken by students in forcibly entering the health ministry building. I am with GMOA and their views, but what they do to these people is absolutely wrong. I implore these doctors to consider that Saitam is not an item for people in rural areas. When we began Saitam, we did it in a conniving manner. So we cannot put children at Saitam in trouble, but we must take action against the people who began this Saitam in a conniving manner. Wednesday is public day. The students entered the health ministry to meet the minister, having stayed outside the ministry before. However, they were not given that opportunity to meet the minister. This is why all the students decided to enter the premises. So we asked the government this question: is attacking and assaulting students who come to meet the minister Yahapalnya? We will create a force to bring this country's leaders to their knees if their way of rule is to assault students. This attack on students can be against the workers of the oil corporation and the workers at the port. We need to stop this. An adjournment debate was to be held in Parliament today as per the request by Joint Opposition Parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena. Due to several reasons, however, the debate did not take place and the Parliament was adjourned till tomorrow. Leader of the House, Lakshman Kiriyalla, and Parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena expressed their views on the matter at a media briefing held at the parliamentary premises this afternoon. A parliamentarian sat on the Speaker's chair and immediately adjourned the Parliament. It's clear that they did not want any parliamentarian from the opposition to have this debate. On behalf of the joint opposition, I would like to say that a person who had no idea as to how the Parliament functions has been appointed as the leader of the House. I would like to challenge him to come for a debate on standing orders tomorrow. We went and met the Speaker and he was very disappointed about the incident.
Later, Leader of the House, Lakshman Kiriyalla, also held a media briefing.
As the Leader of the House, I completely agreed to allocate time for this debate today when he requested it. Parliament session was to conclude at 4:30 today, but then it was concluded at 4 p.m. The parliamentarian at the Speaker's chair called for Parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena, but he was not in the House at the time. So we adjourned the Parliament. He had gone for a discussion with the GMOA and he returned after that. If he truly respects the Parliament, he should stay within the House. But he wasn't there.
Let's move on to other local news now. Addressing the 35th session of the UNHCR yesterday, retired Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara said reports compiled by Special Envoys John E. Mendes and Monica Pinto on torture and the independence of judges and lawyers in Sri Lanka have been submitted based on hearsay and gossip in violation of the norms included in the UN Charter. Monica Pinto visited Sri Lanka between 29th of April to the 7th of May 2016 to conduct preliminary observations.
Retired Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara yesterday handed over petition to UNHRC President Joaquin Alexander Maza Martelli requesting action be taken against Human Rights High Commissioner Zaid bin Ra'ad Zaid Al Hussein and Special Rapporteur Monica Pinto for forcing Sri Lanka towards constitutional reform, basing their reports on false information and bias.
Both of them have based their findings merely on hearsay and gossip and had violated the norms of the UN Charter. The Special Rapporteur decides that our 200-year-old judiciary is incompetent and partial, spending only 8 days in Sri Lanka. The US President says that Americans will never surrender to terrorism. The Prime Minister Theresa May says that she will even change the human rights laws if they get in their way of tackling terrorism. But when we tackle the most ruthless terrorist organization in the world, this is how the UNHRC treats us. If our soldiers have done anything wrong, let them be tried by our judiciary. If you insist hybrid courts for our men, you are obliged as per your mandate to recommend same for the heroic British and American men fighting terrorism today.
Meanwhile, Secretary of the Reconciliation Task Force of the Secretariat for Coordinating Reconciliation Mechanisms, Dr. Pakisothi Saravanamuttu says that debating with international communities on false accusations is not the answer to reconciliation.
Shortcomings that we have with the rapporteurs have drawn attention, and some of them are quite serious. I think the point is this, is that instead of engaging in some sort of hot-air debate with internationals about whether they are making false accusations or whether they have a hidden agenda, we really need to reflect very seriously on what the situation is within our country and move speedily to rectify it. There are a number of problems, and the citizens of this country are aware of them. And that's what we need to get on with doing, rather than distract by going all over the show and complaining that, people are being, or organizations and at the international system is being unduly critical and unfair and all of that kind of thing, or impinging on our sovereignty. There are serious problems, and we need to set about rectifying them as soon as possible.
Medical Research Institute has introduced a new species of mosquito as a biological control method to combat the spread of dengue. The Medical Research Institute says that they received positive results in research which use the new species to control mosquito population. Meanwhile, dengue could also pose a threat to Sri Lanka's much profitable tourism sector. We spoke to several tourist specialists on the matter as well.
The newly introduced variety of mosquito larvae known as Toxorhynchites can be used to control dengue larvae, Aedes aegypti, as a means of biological control. The Medical Research Institute states that this species is widely distributed in Peradeniya and Kundasale areas, and research will be done to acclimatize them to urban areas. The lifespan of this variety of mosquito is 3 months, and the larvae stage of the mosquito extends from 4 to 5 weeks. The lifespan of the dengue mosquito is 2 to 3 weeks, and its larvae stage extends from 5 to 7 days. Therefore, one larvae of the said species can destroy approximately 450 dengue larvae. The introduced larvae is herbivorous, and there is no effect on people. Not only has dengue been claiming precious lives across the island, but it is posing a threat to the country's economy. Speaking to Other Derana, various professionals warn that the country's lucrative tourism industry is in grave danger if the current dengue outbreak continues. Hoteliers say that there is a risk of cancellation of booking, which could eventually translate to a loss in business. They asked the government to take precautionary measures to curb this crisis. Meanwhile, professionals in travel and tourism expressed their views on the matter.
Some of the foreign tour operators had made certain inquiries into the present situation of dengue. However, we have not heard of any cancellations. In another 1 month's time, that is during the Asala festival, we are expecting some influx of tourists to the country. So we need to carry good news to the outside world to tell that Sri Lanka is a safe place to travel to. And in that context, we have to make certain measures where bad news will not go out of the country. The government, I think, would make necessary steps to curb the situation getting into an epidemic.
The former president of the Hotels Association of Sri Lanka, Srira Mittapala, says dengue outbreaks will drive the tourists away if the relevant parties do not take quick measures to arrest its spread.
Many tourists are now a little bit concerned about travelling to Sri Lanka and because of this threat. So there is no point in tourism professionals saying that this is not a serious thing. This is a problem, and the best way to confront it is by being honest about it. So I think the whole issue is being honest and saying, yes, there is a problem. There are certain areas that are more prevalent with dengue. Be careful in traveling to those places. Our leisure sector is the largest proportion of tourists we get. So they are going to be worried. In that way, there will
Minister of Finance and Mass Media, Mangala Samarweera, is of the view that outdated laws with regard to consumption of liquor in the country should be revised. The minister made this statement addressing the parliament today.
We know that you cannot control the consumption of alcohol in any country. We have to relax laws for those who consume beer or wine so that they could exercise healthy drinking habits. My personal opinion is that we should relax laws pertaining to liquor licenses. The major supermarkets which have the liquor license tell us how there is a higher sale of liquor the day prior to any Poya Day. We don't dispute the fact that this ban is there on Poya Day out of respect for Buddhism. Even Christmas Day, known as one of the days that's high with tourists, has now become a dry day. If we are to develop the tourism industry, we need to rethink these laws that are outdated. We need to have a broad discussion on how we can ensure the rights of the people who consume liquor and more so as to how the policy on fighting against liquor can coexist.
UNP parliamentarian Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathera says that the use of weedicides in tea production must be stopped at all costs. He made these remarks at a media briefing held in Colombo today. Tea industry failed because of drought, weakness in management and inability to capture the market. The tea industry is telling us that they need glyphosate, otherwise there will be issue in the tea production. While they employ large number of laborers for a mere $1.50, they cause large-scale destruction. We need to have a clear stance on this matter. There are people dying and over 100,000 patients suffering from kidney-related diseases. All tea producers must take an organic approach.
Meanwhile, the Thera expressed his views on the current position of the government.
The current government is in disarray. During the tenure of the previous government, everything was organized with a leader who looked the part and is a good orator. Now there is room for opposition in all aspects. If we are to create a cohesive government, we have to carry out public campaigns and push the government forward. If the Prime Minister is at fault, then the President can stop him and vice versa. There should be a balance. It is challenging because, like the government, we too are disorganized. Now let's have a brief look at other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
The spokesperson for the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Minister Dilan Pereira, says that they cannot be satisfied with the conduct of the current unity government. The minister made these comments during a media briefing in Colombo today, adding that a decision will be taken on the continuity of the unity government in the next 3 months. The Central Bank's Information Technology Department's Additional Director, Wasanta Alwis, submitted secondary market transaction details of perpetual treasuries to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate and inquire into the issuance of treasury bonds today. Indian media report that one of the convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, Robert Pius, who has been in prison in India for more than 26 years, has submitted a request to end his life. Pius was sentenced to life imprisonment, but although the state government had decided to release all 7 convicts in the case, the remission process was blocked by India's Supreme Court.
Onto the stock market now. Stocks were lower after the close today as losses in the footwear and textile, plantation and banking, financial and insurance sectors led shares lower. At the close, the CSE all share fell 0.25%. Here is Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with the full update of the day's trading.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Century Investments and Finance, Ceylon Printers, SNB Leasing, Renuka Capital and Bedouin Resorts, while the top 5 losers were PC Pharma, Brak Lanka Finance, Rambuta Falls, Lucky Lanka and Lucky Lanka non-voting. Today's foreign purchases were 156.02 million rupees and foreign sales were 170.61 million rupees. There were 3 crossings today and the crossings turnover was 91.97 million rupees.
The Sri Lankan rupee ended slightly firmer on today ahead of the central bank's policy review as a foreign bank sold dollars, but dollar buying by a state bank prevented further strengthening the rupee. A spot rupee, which has been trading for 4 straight sessions after being inactive for 6 weeks, ended at 153 rupees and 15 to 25 cents per dollar. Now here's a look at how the currency market performed against the rupee during the day today. Welcome back. The Sri Lanka cricket team's manager Asanka Gurusinghe emphasises that fitness tests for cricketers are not done with the intention of dropping them from the side. Gurusinghe spoke exclusively to Other Derana today.
Fitness test
We only carried out the fitness test to check the fitness levels of cricketers, not to give them a pass or fail grade. There's talk that this test is used to drop players. Fitness of sports people is a huge global problem, and there is an issue when it comes to the Sri Lankan cricket team as well. This wasn't something that came up recently. This time we did the test once we lost the match. When we do this particular test, we can inform the players in detail about their condition. There is a sub-test called the skin fold test, which reveals the amount of fat one has in his or her body. We used to do this test after performing badly in a game. I stopped that practice. I received permission from the Sri Lanka Cricket Board to do this test once every 3 months.
ඉතින් මට ඒක නවත්තලා තමයි මම දැන් මාස 3න් 3ට බෝඩ් එකෙන් permission දුන්නා fitness test කරන්න.
When asked about Sri Lanka's poor performance against Pakistan in the ICC Champions Trophy, Asanka Gurusinghe had this to say.
ඇත්ත අපි catches 3ක් අතෑරියා.
Yes, we dropped 3 catches when we faced Pakistan. Whatever said and done, we know that catches win matches. It's difficult to win a match after you drop 3 catches. I told the team before the game that we could only win it through fielding. It's a sad outcome. Those who drop the catches are really good fielders. I know that they would never drop the ball if they could avoid it. They are still disappointed about it.
ඒගොල්ලන් තාම දුක් වෙනවා. මම දන්නා
Well, in news just broke short while ago, Afghanistan and Ireland have been granted test status by the International Cricket Council, becoming the first admission since Bangladesh gained test status in the year 2000. The ICC's decision increases the number of countries competing at the top level of international cricket to 12. Ireland, who are 12th in the ICC one-day rankings, beat England in the 2011 World Cup, while Afghanistan are currently 10th in the rankings and recently drew an one-day international series with T20 world champions West Indies. Well, more on cricket as fallout from India's humiliation in the recently competed Champions Trophy continues. Rights group Amnesty International has called for the release of 15 men arrested for celebrating Pakistan's win. Police in Madhya Pradesh arrested the men and charged them for sedition after they allegedly raised pro-Pakistani slogans and burst crackers after Sunday's final, in which defending champions India were beaten by 180 runs. Indian police have dropped charges of sedition, telling local media that they were hard to prove, but are charging the men with disturbing communal harmony and conspiracy. On to tennis now. After the exits of top 3 seeds from the Aragon Championship in London, the grass courts at the Queen's Club threw up yet another shock, with 5th seed Jo-Wilfried Tsonga being knocked out in the second round yesterday.
Jo-Wilfried Tsonga joined the exodus of seeds after being outplayed by Gilles Muller at a boiling hot Queen's Club yesterday. The Frenchman lost in straight sets, one day after Andy Murray, Stan Wawrinka and Milos Raonic were all knocked out. 6th seed Grigor Dimitrov lost the first set to veteran Frenchman Julien Benneteau, but saved 5 out of 6 breakpoints during the match to advance with a 4-6, 6-3, 6-4 win. 7th seed Thomas Berdych also prevailed in a tough contest, with 18-year-old Denis Shapovalov taking him to a third set. The experienced Berdych, however, won 80% of his service points, taking the match 7-6, 6-7, 7-5 in just over 2 hours.
Former Manchester United and Real Madrid winger Angel Di Maria has agreed to pay €2 million to settle a tax case in Spain. Spanish authorities say that he will plead guilty to 2 charges of fraud relating to image rights during the time at the Spanish club.
Angel Di Maria is accused of failing to pay €1.3 million to the Spanish tax authorities by giving up his image rights to companies based in tax havens such as Panama. The 2 charges of fraud, which he's pleading guilty to, carry an 8-month prison sentence each, but under Spanish law, a first-time offender is not required to serve time in jail for a sentence below 2 years. Barcelona defender Javier Mascherano received a 1-year suspended prison sentence for tax fraud last year, while teammates Lionel Messi and Neymar are awaiting court decisions.
Welcome back, everyone. On to international news. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi said today that the destruction of the Great Mosque of Al-Nuri in the city of Mosul is an official declaration of defeat by the so-called Islamic State. Iraqi forces said that ISIS blew up the medieval-era mosque and its famous leaning minaret as they battled to stop the advances of pro-government forces.
Iraqi forces released images of the landmark, and aerial photographs show that the complex has largely been destroyed. The 800-year-old mosque was where IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in 2014 made his only public appearance following the declaration of a caliphate. Reports said IS had rigged the mosque with explosives to stop the advance of Iraqi troops, but that local residents had until now prevented the militants from blowing it up.
A 7-year push by Republicans to dismantle Obamacare and kill the taxes it imposes upon the wealthy reaches a crucial phase today when Senate Republicans unveil a draft bill they aim to put to a vote as early as next week. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and other top Republicans have worked in secret for weeks on the bill, which is the latest Republican effort to make good on a key campaign promise of U.S. President Donald Trump.
Despite Obamacare being credited with expanding health insurance to millions of Americans, Republicans say it costs too much and involves the federal government too deeply in healthcare. President Donald Trump made Obamacare repeal a centerpiece of his 2016 campaign and celebrated the House-passed bill, which Mitch McConnell has to convince the Senate he has improved upon.
So we have a very slim 52 to 48. That means we basically can't lose anybody. And I think, and I hope, can't guarantee anything, but I hope we're going to surprise you with a really good plan.
McConnell cannot lose the support of more than 2 Republicans, as all Democrats and independents are expected to vote against, and a recent independent poll found only 13% of Americans in support of the Republican bill.
Let's now cross over to Katharina Chang, who's at the Weather Centre with tomorrow's weather.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, the low pressure area is set to enhance in the southwest part of the country on the 23rd, which means we can expect heavy showers in this part of the island later towards the evening time, while a slight drizzle can be expected across regions of western, Sabaragamuwa central and northwestern provinces and districts of Galle and Matara. Fairly heavy showers of about 50 millimeters can be expected at some places, particularly in Colombo, Ratnapura, Galle and Kalutara districts due to the low pressure area accompanied by strong winds. It's now time to take a look at the city by city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. Our news at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Please make sure you join us then as well. Tonight, before we go, we want to take you to the ancient city of Kurunegala. The city was an ancient royal capital for 50 years from the end of the 13th century to the start of the 14th century. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.